Hello, welcome to this video documentary. My name is Christopher Mayo and I'm a faculty member at Kogakkan University. It is one of only 2 universities in Japan where students can become certified as Shinto priests. One of the most sacred sites in the Shinto tradition, the Ise Jingu Shrine Complex, is located nearby. The documentary you are about to watch was produced by the Kogakkan University Student Television Station, which is run by students who create material from start to finish, including the planning, filming, and editing of video materials. This documentary is focused on an ancient text called the Nihon Shoki, or Chronicles of Japan. The Nihon Shoki, or Nihongi, was compiled and written down in the 8th century based on earlier written records and oral traditions. As the first of the so-called 6 state histories, or Nikkokushi, it took the form of an official history. The first 2 volumes contained material dealing with the divine origins of Japan. The remainder followed the activities of Japan's sovereigns up until the end of Empress Jito's reign in 697. W.G. Aston first translated it into English in 1896. As this video explains, the Nihon Shoki remains a key source for anyone interested in learning more about Japanese beliefs, customs, history, and ideas. We hope that you enjoy the video.
The Chronicles of Japan, or Nihon Shoki, is Japan's oldest written history. Beginning with the age of myths and legends, it recorded how the country was formed. Exactly 300 years have passed since it was compiled. During the 7th and 8th centuries, it took nearly 4 decades to complete it. And even though 1300 years have passed, it still has something to teach us today. My name is Kunimoto Hanayo. I'm a first-year student in the Shinto Department at Kogakkan University. For the 300th anniversary of its completion, I decided to take a copy of the Nihon Shoki in hand to visit places in Mie connected with it. I also wanted to talk with scholars who are doing research on it. At Kogakkan University, Professor Shimizu Kiyoshi, a former president of the university, spoke at a ceremony for the 300th anniversary of the Nihon Shoki's completion.
Our university's name is Kogakkan, and the name includes the phrase Kogaku, which means the study of Japan. What scholarship is at the heart of Kogaku? That would be the Chronicles of Japan and the Kojiki, or records of ancient matters. The Chronicles of Japan is a fundamental text for studying what is called the imperial land. The mission for Kogakkan as an institution is to research and learn from this text. We need to look to the ancient past if we want to understand the past. The modern Japan has been traveling since the 19th century. There we can see the essential elements of Japan. Japanese history has alternated between Reformation and Restoration over the centuries. Whatever time period you are interested in, it is important to pay attention to the Nihon Shoki and Kojiki. These two texts are what one could call Japan's eternal classics. They are essential to understanding Japan, and I especially hope that all the students at Kogakkan University take this to heart.
このように、拡大していく中でそれぞれの地域の女性と婚姻関係を結んで、その間に生まれる王子が地方それぞれのどういうんでしょうか在地の首長になっていくというのが日本書紀の伝承であろうと思うのです。でここまで思いついて誰か言ってないのかなと思ったんですけども
Professor Endo Keita teaches in the Department of Japanese History in the Faculty of Letters, and he was given a talk about the Nihon Shoki. I decided to ask Professor Endo what kind of preparation I ought to do for this program.
This text is essential for understanding Japan's origins and the imperial household. I think that is what the text is all about. That is why it has been read and passed down through the ages. Also, people have changed. We continue to speak about it and do research on it. It is fascinating to read about historical people and places in ancient time, isn't it? On a trip to Korea, this was brought home to me. There was an information board about some Korean ruins written in Hangul, of course, but also in English, saying that the fortress corresponded to something from the Nihon Shoki. I was impressed to see that the Nihon Shoki is critical not only for understanding Japan, but for other countries and regions as well. This experience reminded me about just how amazing it is.
It is said that 1339 years ago, 6 members of the imperial family and 6 officials were ordered to compile the Chronicles of Japan. 39 years later, in 720, the compilers overcame many challenges to complete the Nihon Shoki and present it to the emperor. The Nihon Shoki has 30 volumes, starting with the Divine Age and continuing in chronological order through the reigns of successive emperors until Empress Jito, who studied the practice of regularly rebuilding Ise's Jingu Shrine every 20 years. It contains folklore connected with the creation of the nation. There is a story in the Nihon Shoki about Kumano City in Mie Prefecture.
ある文に曰く、イザナミの御事、火の神を生むときに、焼かれてかむさりましぬ。彼、キーの国の熊野の有馬村に葬り祭る。国人、この神を御霊を祭るには、花の時にはまた、花を持って祭る。また、鼓、笛、旗を持って歌いまいて祭る。
Calling to the Nihon Shoki, when the deity Izanami gave birth to the deity of fire, she suffered severe burns and died. She was enshrined in the village of Arima in Kumano. People have worshipped the spirit of this deity with flowers when they bloom and with drums, flutes, flags, singing and dancing. This steep cliff is believed to be her mausoleum. Along with the Kumanokodo Pilgrim's Lord, it was registered in 2004 as a World Heritage Site called the Secret Sites and Pilgrim's Lords in the King Mountain Range. There is no majestic shrine structure to draw your attention. The cliff itself is an object of worship, and its presence overwhelms us. I stayed for a while in this legendary place and passed the time thinking on the origins of the deities as described in the Nihon Shoki. It describes Japan's creation from the age of the deities to the world of mortals. In particular, people have written a lot about the first and second scrolls, which discuss the age of the deities.
本は日本書紀神代豪快っていう名前の本なんです。で、この本を書いたのは、
This is Professor Ibaraki of Kogakkan University. He specializes in studying ancient texts such as the Nihon Shoki.
日本書紀は本当に江戸時代にもよく読まれたみたいで、これは今言ったようなそういう注釈書を集めた本なんですけども、全30巻の原文っていうのもこういう木版本という形で何種類か出版されてます。で中でもやっぱり巻の1と2ですね、神様のことを書いた、神代巻とか神代の巻とか言われる部分がよく読まれたようで、30巻のうち巻の1と2だけを木版本にしたものもたくさん出ています。
ちょっと疑問だったんですけど、日本書紀研究 I asked him to explain to me in more depth about the 日本書紀.
As you know, the Nihon Shoki is a historical text that describes ancient history centered on the emperor. In other words, it can be said that it is a book that justifies the emperor's rule over Japan. In a sense, I think it is only natural that the emperor is revered, and the Nihon Shoki, which shows the roots of the emperor's rule, has been widely read for a long time. That is why there have been many professors who have published excellent research of the Nihon Shoki. Even after Kogakkan University was revived as a private university in 1962, the main research at Kogakkan was about the study of national history and national literature. So, there have been many professors studying the Nihon Shoki. I think that this tradition has continued until today. In that sense, Kogakkan University remains one of the most important centers for research on the Nihon Shoki. It is a tradition we are proud to uphold. Since World War II, research on it has greatly progressed. However, there has been a tendency not to trust what it says about the ancient period, and I think this has been the mainstream approach. However, I have made a detailed study of the Nihon Shoki, and I think what it says is necessarily wrong. In other words, at the core of what is written, I have discovered that there are quite a few historical facts. This has been a source of amazement and one of the most significant discoveries in my research of the text. there is a field of study called archaeology. Archaeologists study various things through excavations. Archaeology is a scientific study, but the objects and remains discovered in archaeology do not tell us any stories. For example, there are numerous large ancient burial mounds that are keyhole-shaped in Nara and Osaka. We cannot determine for certain whose tombs they are from archaeological findings alone. However, we can get clues from the Nihon Shoki about people who were buried in them or the process of constructing ancient tombs. For this reason, I think there is great significance in studying the Nihon Shoki.
Over the course of 1300 years, the interpretations and volume placed on the Nihon Shoki have changed due to various historical conditions. The Jingu Library holds many historical materials from Ise Jingu. They number over 310,000 in total. From reading the literature on the Nihon Shoki and listening to talks by various other faculty, I have come to appreciate the existence of early Navy scholars who contributed to the study of this text. One of these people was Shikita Toshiharu, a scholar of classical literature in the 19th century. He was involved in the foundation of Kogakkan University. Jingu Library holds a copy of his annotation of the Nihon Shoki.
He was a nativist studies scholar born in Usa, on the island of Kyushu in the latter half of the early modern period. He was deeply involved with Kogakkan University. He taught Japanese classical literature as a professor when Kogakkan was founded. Even though he stayed in Ise for a while, he spent most of his time in Osaka, where he lectured and wrote on the Kojiki, Nihon Shoki, and other ancient texts. In his interpretation of myths, he expressed a unique point of view on the text that had not been seen until then.
非常にそれまでの研究者が言わなかったようなですね、ユニークな視点というのを提示したところに、敷田敏治の研究の特徴があると思います。
In this hardling copy of the Nihon Shoki, we can see how our ancestors were passionate in their pursuit. I would like to deepen our understanding of the text even a little. That is what I thought. This is Tategasaki, in Kumano, Mie. Emperor Jimmu is said to have made landfall when he came to the main island of Honshu to launch a military campaign. From this magnificent, rocky outcrop, he and his party set out for the land of Yamato. They defeated their enemies and were protected by the deities. At the end of their journey, they established the Yamato state. The answer to the question of whether it's folklore or historical fact is not clear. But the romance of history that our ancestors felt here still lives on in the steep coastline.
本書紀が編纂されて1300年ということで、あちこちで企画展、講演等もございまして、声をかけていただいたりすることがあります。で、せっかくですので、他のところでもお話をするんですが、その一番最初のネタ卸しという形でここでお話をさせていただこうと思っております。皆さんよくご承知のこの大和尊命東へ西へ、遠征をして、最後は三重県の神山の信野で亡くなるというこの方なのですが、
Kameyama City is where Yamato Takeru died. A special exhibit was held at the Kameyama City Historical Museum to commemorate the 1300th anniversary of the compilation of the Nihon Shoki. Yamato Takeru, the son of Emperor Keiko, left behind many impressive legends with his beauty and bravery.
Everyone wants to know about this in particular. We look at the life of Yamato Takeru here, explain how he differs between the Nihon Shoki and the Kojiki. In 1876, the decision was made that Yamato Takeru's final resting place was Shiratori Burial Mound. There was some debate about it though. In the following year, the Ministry of Home Affairs conducted another on-site survey. They decided on the Choshi Burial Mound in 1879. This is the Nobono Otsuka tomb in Kameyama City. We still do not know who said what about it, and there are still mysteries. It is not mentioned in the Kanai town documents either. Kameyama City has many places connected with the Nihon Shoki, so we decided to hold a special exhibition as an opportunity to convey the relationship between the text and Kameyama City, which is celebrating the 1300th anniversary of the Nihon Shoki's compilation. Yamato Takeru is regarded as a powerful warrior in the Nihon Shoki. He was trusted by Emperor Keiko.
I visited here because my child was interested in Prince Yamato Takeru. It was very interesting to see how native scholars and others have been researching the actual location of the tombs for several centuries.
The Nobono Otsuka tomb is located near the Kameyama City Historical Museum. After many struggles, Yamato Takeru arrived at Nobono and died there at the young age of 30. It is said that Yamato Takeru then became a white bird and flew away to the land of Yamato. Yamato Takeru rests here in the quiet sunlight that is filtering through the trees. researchers of many time periods have attempted to return to Japan's origins through these stories that have been passed down. This is the Shinto Research and Development Center, which is attached to Kogakkan University. It holds a large collection of materials from people in the past who devoted themselves to studying the Nihon Shoki.
It is dated the 22nd day of the 7th month in 1863. It says that Suzuki Shigetane was writing the 33rd volume of the Nihon Giden. It also says that he thought he might have to rewrite volume 31 and 32. He decided to dedicate the rest of his life to writing a commentary on the Nihon Shoki. He was determined to write for the sake of even one person in the future who would understand his research, even if no one else at the time understood it. Based on his unique beliefs, his conception of deities, and his unique outlook, he was determined to write no matter what.
Another native scholar who caught my attention was Suzuki Shigetane, who was active in the late Edo period as a leading scholar of the Nihon Shoki.
He was born in Tsuna on Awaji Island in 1812. Shigetane was very knowledgeable about many things. He was a man who had a clear mind. He also had a very unique way of looking at things. However, he died before he could achieve his ambition. He wrote a commentary called the Nihon Shoki Den, a title which shows he very consciously named it based on the Kojiki Den commentary by the famous nativist scholar Motori Norinaga. In his study of antiquity, Norinaga placed great importance on the Kojiki. Suzuki Shigetane was critical of Motori Norinaga's attitude. He thought the Nihon Shoki should be given priority in historical research. Therefore, the naming of his book could be taken as a reflection of Shigetane's rivalry with Norinaga.
ノリナガに対する重種の対抗意識みたいなものがちょっと見て取れるというところもあります。
Although I saw many documents in an attempt to learn about the Nihon Shoki, there was one manuscript of it, in particular, that I wanted to see. Over the last 1300 years, the Nihon Shoki has been preserved in various manuscripts. Among them is the Atsutabon, a manuscript preserved at Atsuta Shrine in Nagoya. As an early Japanese manuscript that lives on in the modern age, it has been designated by the Japanese government as an important cultural property. The Atsuta Shrine kindly sent me images of it. Reading this beautiful book has been a wonderful experience, and there is one sentence in it that has been valuable to me studying in Ise.
"この神風の伊勢の国は常世の波の四季波をする国なり、片国の馬し国なり、この国におらんと思う。
the deity Amaterasu instructed the princess Yamatohime, saying, "The land of Ise is a land of divine winds, a land where the waves of the eternal land incessantly return. It is a secluded land. In this land, I wish that dwell." Emperor Suinin's daughter, Princess Yamatohime, arrived at Ise after a long journey in search of a place for Amaterasu to reside. The Nihon Shoki tells us that she heard Amaterasu's message on the banks of the Isuzugawa River and decided to enshrine the deity here in Ise. This was the beginning of Jingu Shrine at Ise, which has a history stretching back to millennia. The Nihon Shoki ends with the reign of Empress Jito. She began the Shikinen Sengu, which is a lengthy ritual of reconstructing shrine structures and treasures. It concludes with the moving of the deities into their new homes. This ritual is still performed today. The lessons showing how this country came to be and how it was to be governed came to fruition later in the formation of the ancient Japanese state.
I believe that we can change the future and that there are many things we can understand by learning from the past. The Nihon Shoki is one of many historical books that we can use for learning about the past.
The Nihon Shoki is one of the best sources of information on the origin of the country and the beginning of its history. It is important to distinguish between what is factual and what is not. And since it has been read over a long period of time, studying it will ultimately help us to understand the history of Japan.
The Nihon Shoki is indeed a book that was written in ancient times, but I think it contains many hints for us Japanese to think about our modern society and the future of Japan. In that sense, even though it is an old book, I think it is one that we Japanese must read today. And I think it is an important book that gives us many hints to think about aspects of contemporary society.
I believe that a situation must be created in which people can truly feel the importance of the Nihon Shoki, based on a correct understanding of the text. In this sense, studying the Nihon Shoki may be an eternal theme for Japanese people. I don't know if we'll ever be finished plumbing its depths.
It has been 1300 years since the Nihon Shoki was written. It has been a guidepost for the future of this country and will continue to be passed down as a source of Japan's spiritual culture.